Hello everybody. EN102 College Writing 2. Now this is your slides for Chapter 4, the result. So the title for your Chapter 4 should be this one, result, just result. Or if you want to use finding, that should be find as well. Okay, so here I'm going to explain to you some of the items, all the items that you should put into your Chapter 4. Okay, let's begin. Okay, what is a research project? So let's just recap on what is a research project. Now this can be, possibly a question that you are going to see in your final exam, which is coming on the 22nd of April. And so perhaps you can formulate, you can think about what is a research project in 1-2 seconds. Okay, right. So this is one of the many definitions of a research project, a systematic inquiry that uses disciplined methods to answer questions or solve problems. So it's something very systematic. We have stages that you have to present a problem, because sometimes problem is not really a problem. It may be just a way that we are not able to use certain items properly. So you have to really make sure that a problem is a problem that is worth to be looking into, and you have your approach in solving it is very much a discipline or very much in order. Now you have stages of solving it and finding solution. It's not just like one, and sometimes it can be replicated. Okay, so this is one simple answer for what is a research method, or then any other answers that's possible that reflect the same thing here. Next slide. Okay, type of research paper. Okay, so basically there are two, so qualitative and quantitative. Most of us tend to do quantitative numbers, but some of you, I think yours is more like qualitative and quantitative. So you have both of the you are experiencing the best of both sides of research paper. You're gathering knowledge on how to handle questions, either qualitative or quantitative. Right, so let's take a look at what is qualitative papers. Now it's more like you're going to explore. It is possible whereby your answer and other person's answer or researcher's answer can be different. Okay, you may involve only smaller number of respondents or samples because you want to look into the problem. You're going to dive deeper into the problem, and there's some research, qualitative research paper only involve one respondent, and it can take a long time. For instance, if you want to see the language development of an autism child. Now autism, as we know, there's a lot of different types of autism, and so you want to see perhaps this type of autism, how is the language development of this kid, okay, compared to the others. So in terms of doing this, it may take more about 10 years, for example, or maybe 6 years. You want to see, if you want to make comparison of language development of a normal child and a child with autism, right? So that's one example of qualitative study. And the way you collect your data, we can say it is unstructured or semi-structured data collection method. So what is unstructured or semi-structured? For example, one common method would be an interview. So when it comes to interview, I'm sure you have your own set of questions. You have your own question. You have list down your question, like when you do with your questionnaire, right? However, sometimes in a qualitative study, sometimes the answer of the respondent can trigger another type of questions in your mind. So that's what we call unstructured, or maybe semi-structured. Sometimes it's totally unstructured, whereby the researcher will just go and see what's going on using the method of observation. Okay, so there are some studies, one study that's called ethnographic study, whereby you want to see the life or social aspects of certain society, researcher will, it is going to be, of course, qualitative study, whereby the researcher will have to live among the people of that society and experience the culture, and it's totally unstructured, because things that he or she will see is something different, yes, something new. Alright, so it can be unstructured. Whereas, like some of you may ask questions, for example, like what type, what kind of preference, that can be in terms of qualitative. If you ask your respondent to answer subjective question, that is qualitative. Okay, now whereas when it comes to quantitative, now we have all the numbers. For example, we can quantify the answer into numbers, yes, no, and we can calculate the percentage, how many say yes and how many say no, and then large number of respondents. Sometimes in real life it can involve like hundreds, maybe like 1,000 number of respondents, especially when you just want to see the respondents' view of certain item. For example, at this moment, the RMO, the restricted movement order. Now, you may want to send out survey asking people in Malaysia whether do you think it is something of a suitable method to curb the spreading of COVID-19. Yeah, so it involves large number of respondents, and as much as you can, you like to include people of different areas as well. Yes, you just want to see their overview or their view of a certain issue. Now, it's very structured and rigid data collection, so you don't want to see their reason, you don't want to hear why certain things, opinion, but it's all just numbers. Because you just want to get the surface value or opinion of certain issue. All right, so everything is you're given the option to the answer, and there's no opinion. Okay, right. I hope this is clear for the time being. Okay, pilot study. Now, none of you, us, is doing pilot study, but I did tell you to test your questionnaire. Remember, if you know the class was okay, that we don't have this RMO is not in place, I planned for you to have a pilot study in class, that we can test each other's questionnaire. Now, that's what it meant by pilot study. When you actually try to test your questionnaire, whether people understand, us among our classmates understand what you're talking about, what actually you want, and then you can just conduct a mini studies and you see and calculate, okay, like among 5 people, they all understand it. Okay, this is what I think that I want. You as a researcher, this is the information that you want. So and you're really testing whether the quality of your questionnaire, whether the answer can be reliable and valid to answer your research question. So normally in real life research, especially when it's funded, for example, they have to take it really seriously. So they would have a pilot study, or maybe like testing. So they would include information in chapter 3. So this is actually knowledge wise for you, just knowledge. Who knows, in the future you might want to conduct a study and you want to begin with a pilot study to see whether it is probable to go on with that study, or you want to see whether your questionnaire or your method of in collecting research is something viable or possible. Okay, so you will include researchers would include this outcome in chapter 3, and then and they will mention the changes that they have done to the questionnaire or even research questions, in chapter 3. Okay, so this is extra knowledge for all of us. Moving on. Right, so this is chapter 4, entitled results. Okay, let's all of us just use this, results, And these are the 4 items that I want to see in your chapter 4. Only 4 items, and honestly, as per my humble experience, I feel doing chapter 4 is the easiest of all. Okay, I hope you're going to share my experience. I feel it's the easiest of all. The first chapter is the most challenging. The second chapter is the one that we have to begin first, actually. And then the third chapter, well, you have to decide, you have to do more reading. And chapter 4 is something that you can actually do in a day. And it can be, for some of you, maybe 1 hour. It depends. Okay, it depends. That's something possible. Okay, so make sure you have all these 4 items for your chapter 4, and let's see what we need to include in each of these items. Okay, so chapter 4, we begin with 4.1, introduction. Now, if you wish to copy this, go ahead. But of course, we are going to submit our work into turning in, so that can be a problem to some of us, or all of us. So maybe you may want to change some of these items here, or if you want to come up with your own, I would applaud that. I would support that 100%. But for your introduction, you just need to talk. You need to write briefly what the whole chapter is all about. Like focuses on the finding or outcome. You may want to use the word outcome rather than finding or results obtained, taken, or gotten from the 2 sets of questionnaire. Okay, so for this study, the researcher actually used 2 sets of questionnaire. Questionnaire 1 and questionnaire 2. So yours might be different. Yours will be different. Okay, so what else do you have? Now you have the profile of the respondents is presented in the second part of this chapter, and followed by the major findings in chapter 4.3. Alright, so this is an example of how you write your introduction. Alright, I did not even show you in the first 3 chapters, but chapter 4.1, because chapter 4 and 5, chapter 4 is quite manageable, but chapter 5 can be challenging as well. So let's give a bit of a help, I guess. Right, 4.2, profile of respondents. I want to see a table for your respondents or the samples that you find. Maybe demographic profile. Okay, you're going to write this demographic profile. You're going to have the gender. Age, maybe if you have certain range of age. And okay, this one, of course, you may not you may not need this. Now, this is an example. Yeah, this is an example of how you're going to present your profile of the respondent. And this is how you're going to write the title for your table. All the titles for the table should be standardized. So we'll begin with table 4.2.1. So in that, this is the first table that we see under 4.2, demographic profile of respondents, or you may want to use something else, demographic profile of samples, for example. Okay, but they have to be standardized. So begin with table 4.2. So, and you don't need to write this. Okay, so because I just copied this from certain website. Okay, so this is correct, but it's just like stated as table 1. This should be how you write your title for your table. Alright, I hope this is clear, but of course, if you want to ask questions, feel free to post on WhatsApp, our group, as well, or maybe at Moodle. Alright. Now, general guides for tables or figures. Okay, we'll just use tables. Okay, all of us will use tables. Sometimes you may have figures, maybe in terms of, I don't know, pictures, pictogram, but maybe not so much on this. Now, they should be self-explanatory, that we can see, even though just numbers, but we know what you're talking about. Consistent in all the tables. It should be the same guideline, same, it follows the numbering of the table, and do not repeat details. Okay, make it, because your table should be a summary of what your explanation is about, and title has to be clear. Okay, so as you know, right, I'm just reminding you, just as you know. And okay, so this is sample description. So for example, this is, you have your 4.2 under the respondent. Okay, maybe you want to present your table first and then you will talk about the respondent or the samples that you have for your study. So the respondent demographic data is described in this section, for example, and then below this you can have your table, for example, and then these are all your description. Alright, so you don't have to make it long. Well, it's kind of repetitive, but then you're going to write it in different way. So here they are really testing. One thing that's being tested indirectly is your knowledge of language. How are we going to write about the same thing but in different way? Okay, because the table, we all are going to see the same table, but different student, different people will describe the table in different way. All right, so you're going to do it, you are going to challenge yourself in terms of your language skill, in terms of your explanation ability, yeah, to talk about the table. Now this is based on the table just now, so you can see how it is. This is not the best, definitely, okay, but this is something suitable for the table that I showed you just now. So based on the sample collected through the distribution of questionnaires, missing as male respondents outnumbered female respondent, accounting for as against respectively. Okay, so now you go till the end of the paragraph. Now it does not have to be long, right? It doesn't have to be long. Okay, so so this is one, all right, one example of how you are going to write about your respondent. Okay, so this is one example. Now you have your own way, and I think you would have better way to describe yours. Okay, next. Okay, research findings. All right, so research findings. So this is the third part of chapter 4. Now you can begin with this, for example. Based on the purpose of this study, 8 research questions have been formulated. Out of the 8, 9 hypotheses are tested. But we don't have any hypothesis. We did not include any hypothesis, so you can cancel this out. Below are the findings of research questions. So you can stop here, right? Because you don't have this, right? Okay, so now this can be your introduction or the way you write it on your own. So this is 4.3. 4.3, then you continue. So this introduction for 4.3. Then the next one is 4.3.1. RQ. Let's make it standard in our work. Everyone's going to write RQ1, RQ2, RQ3. I think most of you have about 3 to 4 research questions. So we just do it like that. So begin with 4.3.1. This is where you're going to present everything on the plate. Okay, just present it. So you have research question 1, colon, do you like reading? So this is your research question. So this is one example, right? So research question 1. Seeks the preference of the students of whether they like reading, do not like reading, or they only like reading some of the times. Okay, so now capturing what you asked in the questionnaire. Of the 200 upper primary students who answered the questionnaire, 70 questionnaires as 75% stated a clear yes to this question, no as here. 20% said no, and the remaining 5% stated sometimes. Okay, so this is your explanation. And the next thing, we shall go to the next slide. Now you are going to present it, summarize it in your table. Now I insist that you have a table. So this is 4.3.1. For this part, 4.3.1 colon, this is your title and this is your, it can be table or pie chart, whichever they're suitable. I leave it to you to think about it, to analyze whether the data can be presented either in the pie chart or maybe table or maybe line graph for certain, for example, if we're making comparison. So I want you to do some analysis of your own. But of course, if you need help, if ever you need help, feel free to talk about it. This is something that we don't have in our online class here. If we are in a classroom setting, we can talk about it like what you did with your questionnaire last time. That was really fruitful, I guess, for some of you. But you can do your own analysis and thinking and see which is the best way, visual aids, to present your data. So you have to come up with a table or some sort of visual aids for this. All right, so you can either represent it in maybe you want to have this first, right? This one first, and then you want to talk about the explanation later. I will leave it to you, but both will have to be in. Okay, I hope this is okay. And the last one. Right, so conclusion. So you have reached the conclusion of chapter 4, whereby you're going to write the summary of it. This chapter presents the findings of the study, and the following chapter we'll talk about chapter 5, concentrates on the discussion of the finding with the possible recommendation for further studies in relation to the focus of this study. So this is one sample of how you can write the conclusion for your chapter 4 or in any other way. Now, as a researcher or student researcher, I suggest, now if you have the time, take a look at some other research paper, research articles, and then see how they conclude or how they begin their chapters or end their chapters. That is also one way of learning. All right, and don't forget to get the information for your bibliography. Okay, for your research project, you are going to list the bibliography. You're going to have a bibliography list at the end of your chapter. And when we talk about bibliography, you're going to include all the resources that you use, either directly or indirectly. Indirectly meaning you just read it and then you paraphrase the whole thing, or you get the ideas, but they still should be included in your bibliography list. All right. I hope this is okay. I hope this is clear enough. But as I said, please take a look at your work. This involves a lot of thinking, yeah, analysis and thinking before you start presenting your work. Okay. With that, this is the end of the slides, and this is the end of my explanation. And I hope this has been clear. And it serves as a proper guideline for you to begin with your chapter 4. With that, I thank you and wishing everyone the best, and I shall be talking to each of you soon. Okay, take care now.